and disenfranchise people through racist actions, like literally, this is not for you, bub. Like you don't meet the financial qualifications in order to actually benefit from racism. Like that's the wild shit. Like you literally don't. It's any for any. Listen. I'm gonna be really honest, straightforward. For any of the white people who think that like engaging in racism will somehow benefit them, it won't. It won't. And not only will it not benefit you, because the only thing that racism does is absolutely overwhelmingly harm uh, anyone who is not at the top of the food chain. You can talk about like the top 1%, but you can also talk about how like literally the like Lyndon B. Johnson gave up the game and talked about how with making sure that fragile white men continue to engage in racism will allow them to continue to suppress and oppress them financially, right? It racism is so expensive that it costs the United States $16 trillion. You heard that right, trillion with a T. Racism is so expensive that it costs the United States of America $16 trillion. And for some reason, the the poor white people who like want to just slur or you know lean into whatever like tropes they have, for some reason they think that like, oh, this is helping me, but it doesn't. It literally does nothing for you, but it does something for the ultra wealthy. Absolutely does something for the ultra wealthy. So I don't know like for the racist white people, and again, I'm not calling every single white person racist, but I am saying for the racist white people, right? The one, your clan ancestors would be ashamed of you because you haven't updated your racism since they passed it off to you, right? Make sure you're updating your resume. But number two, um, I has to keep it super simple. If you're gonna try to be racist, how about you try to get a bag first? As as they would say on Hood JJK, get your paper up. Get your paper up. Anyway, that was just a sidebar, a side conversation to what we are here to do, right? And the main goal is to get some debates. So again, only request up if you are a Trump supporter or disagree with anything on the background. We're only looking for some debates. Welcome back, YouTube. Sorry about that. I'm hoping YouTube is not going to be funny anymore. But only request up if you are a Trump supporter or disagree with anything on the background. We're only looking for some debates. With that being said, the enemy of the state has been identified, and that is absolutely Trump, Donald Trump, and MAGA. I want to take a moment here and talk about what Donald Trump is trying to actively do and how people, if you don't understand how it's connected, then you're missing it, right? You're missing it. The fact that Donald Trump is at the same time where he's trying to quote unquote nationalize the actual election. He's trying to nationalize the election. At the same time, he's actively trying to start conflict with Iran. And for anyone that's saying like, oh, he's not doing that, oh, you guys aren't paying attention. Like we're literally waiting for the moment where he actually makes that announcement that, oh, Iran is going to actually, we're going to war. But it's in conjunction with a couple of different things. And the biggest thing is Donald Trump knows that he isn't going to be able to retain power. He's not. He's not. And not only does Donald Trump know that he's not going to be able to retain power, the Republican Party knows that they're not going to be able to retain power. This is Mike Johnson. This is Mike Johnson. I want you guys to hear this and tell me if this sounds like someone who is prepared for the 2026 midterms.
He needs all 4 years, not just 2, to fix the mess. And that's what we need. If we lost the midterms, heaven forbid, if we lost the majority in the House, it would be the end of the Trump presidency in a real effect. So we've got to keep this going. And I think we're excited to put our candidates on the field to explain all this to the people.
Does that sound like someone who's confident about what's happening or what's coming up? And Jason, thank you so much for sharing the live. I really, really appreciate it. But Jason, we don't want to spam share. That's perfectly good. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Repost the live instead, Jason. But we're good. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Does that sound like someone who is confident in trying to actually control power after the midterm election? Or am I tripping? Is it me? Am I tripping? No, I didn't think so. I didn't think so. Mike Johnson understands the gravity of what's getting ready to happen. And even more so, even more than Mike Johnson understanding the gravity of what's getting ready to happen, Mike Johnson is telling people it's not a prediction, it's a spoiler. It's not a prediction, it's a spoiler. The Republican Party will lose power during the midterms. Now, the interesting thing may be how much power they lose. That may be the interesting part. Because when I say how much power they may lose, they may so there's absolutely the actual thinking is for sure that the Republican Party will lose the House. But now there are worries that the Republican Party will also lose the Senate. I'm not ready to sign off on that one just yet, but it is a possibility. It's absolutely a possibility. I think it may be a little bit of a long shot, but it's a possibility. One reason why I say that it's a possibility, though, is because what American voters are saying. And American voters are saying that they're tired of what's happening. And alongside of tired of what's happening, they're saying that we're going to show up and show out. I'm going to put this on the screen really quick. Hold on, that's not the view. That's weird that it's trying to show the whole thing. Let's see. Window. Why is it trying to show the whole thing? That's weird. Whatever. We're not going to figure this out on the fly. I'm just going to do this then. All right. Let's see here. Do this as an image. And then just place this here. Boom. All right. And this is why I say this. So when you talk about the election, and you talk about the election and you talk about what is Holy smoke, do I have that off the screen? Wrong way. Got it, don't worry about it. Sorry, guys. I'm looking at a different view, and then it looks funny on my screen versus how you guys see it, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, this is the actual, this is the view as far as the people who are planning to vote. Democrats are set to vote. They're ready to vote. Republicans, not as much. Now, we do know that Republicans are typically voters that show up every single year versus how Democrats will show up every 4 years. So it's going to be super interesting to see what happens during the midterms. Hi, are you a Trump supporter or disagree with something on the background? Hi, are you a Trump supporter or disagree with anything on the background? I think that was a tapping error, so I'm going to drop it down. Guys, only request up if you are a Trump supporter or disagree with anything on the background. We're only looking for some debates. Only request up if you are a Trump supporter or disagree with anything on the background. We're only looking for some debates. If you are friendly, again, keep tapping the screen, share the live. Let's get the likes up to 100,000 likes. Also, send your daily heart meet. It's only one coin. Hi, are you a Trump supporter or disagree with something on the background?
Hi, I'm not a Trump supporter, but I think I might disagree with some of the stuff in the background.
Okay. Which point do you disagree with the most? Where you'd like to start?
Yeah, so by the way, I do watch you quite a bit. I'm a big fan and I agree with like 95% of your positions and stuff like that. And I've learned a lot from you. So I appreciate what you do. But I think where I have a little bit of maybe a disagreement is with labeling like moderate Democrats and alpha males as enemies of the state. I think, I mean, I guess I'll just share a little bit like about my background. I grew up in like super liberal community. I was 12 during the 2016 election. So I was taught and believed that like if you vote for Trump, you're stupid, right? And then as I got older, I realized that people who vote for Trump have reasons that they do vote for Trump. And those reasons are valid. They're just like really misinformed about who Donald Trump is and what he's actually going to do. And when you label them as stupid, you miss the opportunity to learn about those reasons. And I think it's similar for like, alpha males. Like, I think there are reasons that men are drawn to that type of environment. And when you just label them as enemies of the state, you miss the opportunity to have a conversation about, toxic masculinity and about how feminists are actually against toxic masculinity and about how men do face, issues, especially with mental health and emotions and things like that, that women don't face in society, and those issues are real. So I think that's where I have just a tiny bit of a disagreement is with the labeling as an enemy of the state. I think it might miss the opportunity for connection. I don't know. I'm curious what your thoughts are.
I disagree. And not that I disagree with the premise beyond or outside of what you're actually saying, right? Because I think like that's the entire point of having this conversation is to engage with those issues that would be classified as quote unquote toxic masculinity. I'm sorry, or alpha male, right? Which leads into toxic masculinity, right? Misogyny, misogynoir, a lack of emotional regulation, unwilling to deal with things in healthy ways. Like all of those things are the things that play into the idea of alpha males. But then the point that you have to, or the point that I want to make sure that I'm driving home is the premise of alpha males, right? And the fact that like you have people turning to the manosphere, right? Red pill, culture,
Right, for sure.
incels, black pill, groypers, all this other stuff because they don't know how to properly. Sorry. And so since they don't know how to properly engage and regulate their emotions, then they tend to think that like exemplifying like machismo and the entire like tough guy act is the way to go. And so the thing that I've learned is that yes, these people who actually engage in these type of harmful behaviors or whatever, as far as being supportive, I'm sorry, as far as like engaging, they're not going to engage as far as just like, hey, let me talk to you about your toxic behavior. Can I tell you about therapy? Like maybe there's a better way to. No, 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 no. The way that you actually hook them is.
Mhm.
Have you ever heard of the saying? There's the sizzle and the steak. It's an
No,
economic
actually, I
term.
haven't. No.
Okay. So the economic term sizzle and the steak speaks to you ever went to like a restaurant or maybe like then you can hear the sizzling and then you can see the smoke and then you can smell it and you're like, holy smokes, that's what I want.
Yeah,
Okay.
I understand what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then so the point being is in economics, the sizzle and the steak, the sizzle is the thing that sells the actual like thing. The steak is the thing.
Right.
The
Okay.
sizzle is the lore. And so
Right. Makes sense. Makes
addressing
sense.
people who deem themselves to be quote unquote alpha males, like that's the sizzle. And the reason why I say that is because when you talk about people who consider themselves as to be alpha males, the one thing that they will always do is stand up for the fact that they are quote unquote alpha males, right? And so labeling them isn't the tough part. Getting them to actually engage after they, you know, start to show their fragility, that's the tough part.
Mhm.
I deal with people like that all the time who immediately they see what I'm saying and they take it as a personal attack because they wrap their entire personality up into being a quote unquote alpha. But then when I break down the science as far as like the theory of an alpha male being like something that has been debunked, then we start
Mhm.
talking about like leadership qualities. We start talking about the inability for men to emotionally regulate, how they have a lower EQ than women. All of these things finally leads us down a complete diatribe where they're more receptive. So as far as calling them out and saying like, hey, if you say you're alpha male, you're enemy of the state, that's actually like one of the best tactics. I get what you're saying as far as being able to reach them, and I'm trying to reach them, but like,
Mhm.
let's be honest, the toxic masculinity has absolutely harmed our country.
Oh, 100%. I completely agree. So, what you're saying is like maybe more so like the movement of alpha males as a whole, as opposed to like an individual. Is that kind of what you mean?
Yeah, it's definitely the movement, but not only that, like if you
Mhm.
consider yourself to be someone that is in like in that category, like you're harmful.
Yeah.
And I say this all
Yeah.
the time, like have you ever heard of Kevin Samuels?
No, I haven't.
Kevin Samuels is like he was the OG manosphere guy who came out and he like not only bashed men and bashed women, and he would tell women like, oh, how tall are you and how much do you weigh and you want this type of man. He's the one that started like
Mhm.
pushing the idea of the quote unquote high value man, right?
Okay.
Have you ever heard
Mhm.
that term, high value man?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so he's the one that started pushing that entire premise as far as being like a high value man. So all of this is just wrapped into men and how we are so insecure in so many different ways and addressing those insecurities.
Yeah. Yeah, that does make sense. I guess I don't know. I'm 22, and so I see like a lot of young men and when I was younger also, similar type of thing that are getting drawn into like that type of like the Andrew Tate, that type of like
Hmm.
content, that type of media. And so that's where I guess I don't know. That's where I'm like in when they're in that state of like getting drawn in, it seems like that's the time to be like, this is a bad movement. You're not a bad person, as opposed to like, um, like even though it's really frustrating and you want to just be like, you're horrible, it's kind of like we have to be able to reach these people or else we're
Can
not going to ever,
can I ask you an
you
honest
know,
question?
yeah, go for it.
How receptive do you think that those actual young men that are being drawn in, those young men who
Yeah.
are showing that they're receptive to that type of message, how
Mhm.
how uh, how effective do you, specifically you,
Mhm.
think that you would be having a conversation with them, telling them, hey, you're not a bad person. Like you no white
Most of
people love
them,
you or whatever.
not very effective at all. I mean, I'm a woman. They're not going to listen to me.
How effective do you think that it would be for a man to take that approach?
Maybe slightly more effective, but also probably not very effective on the whole.
Yeah, yeah. I'm a
Yeah.
big believer in meeting people where they are.
Yeah.
One thing that I pride myself on is being able to speak to different people on different levels.
For
Not
sure.
everyone needs to have the same conversation, the same tone, temperament, all this other thing. And the one thing that I will tell you for sure, and this isn't just
Mhm.
for you, this is for anyone listening. Um, if I've learned anything over this entire time with me debating Trump supporters or talking to young men or any of this other stuff, um,
Mhm.
they're not going to just right off the bat just give you the respect of a normal human being, a decent person. Like they don't believe in decency, and I'm just being honest. But
Yeah.
what they do respect is someone who is able to command respect. And whether it's showing like, hey, I'm not going to let you run me over, we can have a conversation like adults, but you're not going to be a petulant child, or someone that clearly
Mhm.
draws boundaries and say, hey, this is my boundaries, and either you can engage in the boundaries or we can end this conversation. Like, so being someone who speaks clear, firm, and direct, and is letting them know like, hey, I don't care about the things that you are trying to make this about. Let's talk about the things. That's how
Mhm.
you hook them and you bring them in. So as far as
Yeah.
labels and wording, they don't really care about that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I really appreciate like your thoughts on it. I was just, curious. Uh, yeah, I was just curious what your perspective was, but I definitely can totally see where you're coming from. And I think you're probably right. I think, yeah, I guess in most cases, it's not going to be effective to be like, kind of have that like sweet, nice, like, I don't know what the word is for it, but
Mhm.
like, based on empathy type of conversation with someone who like doesn't believe empathy is a thing. So I do understand what you're saying. I mean, that makes a lot of sense, and I appreciate all your thoughts on it.
Yeah, absolutely. You said you disagree with something else as well.
Oh, maybe moderate Dems. I
Okay.
think similar type of thing. I think maybe there's a lot of moderate Democrats who are just like don't read enough, don't pay enough attention, and then to label them as an enemy of the state is a little divisive, and it could be an opportunity for education.
Yeah. That's not my premise at all with moderate Democrats.
Mhm.
Would you like to know my premise with moderate Democrats?
Yeah, definitely,
Okay.
definitely.
They're absolutely enemy of the state, and the reason why they're enemies of the state is because they are the ones that have enabled Donald Trump and the Republican Party, right?
Yeah.
Literally, they're the ones who have continued to give them power. They're the ones that who are supposed to be the opposition party, but instead of being the opposition party, they have just bent the knee because they don't really care about the country. They don't really care about everyday Americans. They only care about with the moderate Democrats in the like in positions of power. They only really care
Mhm.
about being able to continue to have power and coalesce power. And then when you talk about the moderate Democrats that vote that way, they only want
Mhm.
comfort. They want their right to comfort, and they think that they have their right to comfort. And so they would rather things just go back to the way they used to be. But we don't want things to go back to the way they used to be. We want progression. And so the
Mhm.
last thing I'll say is the reason why um, we are where we are in this country. Not only is it because moderate Democrats have failed to actually fight fascism the way that they should be, but we're
Mhm.
literally haven't had progression because every time moderate Democrats have power, they don't do anything with it. Right? You could talk about the
Yeah.
ACA and the fact that the ACA was supposed to be a stepping stone to universal health care.
Right, and
And
it's not. Yeah.
exactly. So if you call yourself a moderate, especially in the face of fascism, then you're the
Mhm.
problem.
100% agree, especially when it comes to elected people. 100% agree. Our elected officials should not be like compromising with fascism. It's ridiculous and it's infuriating.
Mhm.
And I do think sometimes with the voters, it's just people who don't pay enough attention and just need to be told that. Like they just need to hear what you just said of like, hey, these people that you're supporting or these policies that you're supporting are ineffective. They're policies of appeasement. They're policies that of keeping the peace with people that we don't want to keep the peace with because they're fascist and horrible and threats to the country. And
How would you put out the
you know what I
message?
mean? How would I say that?
Yeah, what type of messaging would you use?
Um, as an individual, you mean, or like,
If
I
you want to
mean,
have this conversation as an individual, as a entire entity, whichever way you want to go, I just want to know,
yeah,
like, because
sure.
you're like your premises around like the way that labeling them as the enemy of the state. I'm cool. I'm willing to hear you out, but like, what
Mhm.
type of if you are looking to challenge someone's way of thinking, and even
Yeah,
like here we are. If you're trying to challenge someone's way of thinking in a public platform, like we're doing right now,
fair.
what messaging would you use in order to engage people to challenge their way of thinking?
That's a fair question, and I haven't really thought about it because it's not like I don't do things like this. So I guess mostly what I'm thinking of is like having one-on-one conversations and but I can see what you're saying of like maybe on the public platform, the label of enemy of the state is more effective in that context, but then to label an individual in like a one-on-one conversation is not going to be helpful. That makes a lot of
Do
sense to
you
me. I can totally see that.
Are you saying, do you think like in a one-on-one conversation that like you
I mean, I think if I was talking to
not
someone
someone
who
that you
claims to be
know,
a moderate, I
not
would
someone that you know,
say,
but
yeah,
someone that you're just talking to who deems themselves to be like a moderate, maybe like someone
yeah,
that you just meet out and about and they say I'm a
yeah,
moderate, and I
yeah,
just want things to go back to the way they were. Then
yeah.
how do you talk to them?
Yeah, I would probably say, okay, what do you think is like the compromise or the moderate version of like with like fascism and the alt right that we have? Like what is your idea of moderate in this context? Because to me, anything that's appeasing any part of the right is not moderate. The right is so extreme and so insane and so like they've gone so far. We can't meet in the middle because the middle is like fascism, you know? So I think I would ask them and try to understand where are you coming from? What is your like idea that you're trying to grasp. And then I feel like a lot of moderate Dems that I meet actually agree with a ton of stuff that's like considered more leftist policy. They just need to be like told it.
Okay. Um, so the issue I have with that is, I think it seems like you're working under the premise that people just need to be educated, right? They don't know.
Well, not everybody, but I think that is the case in a lot of cases.
How so? Help me understand that.
I mean, there's just a lot of people in this country that do not know basics about anything in terms
Why?
of politics because our education system is horrible.
Is it just the education system?
Well, no, it's that. I mean, for some people, it's willful ignorance. For some people, it's, the communities that they're surrounded by. For some people, it's the media that they're choosing. Of course, there's, tons and tons of different factors that go into that.
Okay, so how do you combat those factors?
We would need to change the system. We need more leftist policy. We need, more funding in education. We need more
How do
accountability
you
in
get any of
media.
that without getting the vote and the support?
Yeah,
So
you have to get the
if we
vote.
need, well, again, so you're supposed to have the messaging to get the vote. So how do you?
Yeah.
And so now we're going back
I'm
to
just
where I
not
was going.
sure. I think if you say like moderates are enemies of the state, I don't see how that gets moderates to vote for you. That's where I have a
It doesn't.
problem. Right. But don't we
No, no,
need them to
no.
vote for us?
Yeah, but that's not what calling them the enemy of the state is not intended to get them to vote for us. I think hold on a second. 1 second, sorry.
No worries.
I think that I think you're missing the point. And when I
Hmm.
say missing the point, I mean the point of the background is not
Hmm.
to coddle anyone. It's not
Right.
to encourage anyone. It's literally to make people uncomfortable and force them
That makes sense.
to actually get up here and defend their position as far as why they're moderate. That's the reason why. Me saying that they're the enemies of the state, I'm not being hyperbolic. I believe
Right.
it. I
Right.
completely
And
believe
I
it.
do, in terms of the people who we've elected to power, completely agree with you. 100% agree.
Yeah. The premise that I'm going across as far as like ensuring that people understand, like, I mean these words that I'm saying, right? I absolutely think that if you, and any of these people that are on the background, if you call yourself or support these people or whatever, you're an enemy of the state. And if you can come up here and you can defend that and you can hear what I have to say and it doesn't change your mind, then you're the problem. And no matter what's going to be said, then you're going to continue to engage in those harmful activities. And so, like, in order to get people to vote, right? If electoral politics is the end game or the goal, then you have to actually flat out put it in their face. The reason why, the issue that we have, you did mention, like, oh, you said education or whatever. It's a lack of critical thinking. And the reason why people don't know these things or don't pursue these things or whatever is because they get comfortable and they have no interest in actually trying to go search and find information for themselves. And so that's why so many
That's so
people
hard for me
spend
to
time.
understand, to be honest. I just don't get that, because I think, like, I spend a lot of time finding information. I think information is like so important. So it's hard for me to grasp that there are people out there that don't want information and don't want to learn. Like, that's
United States
honestly
of
really
America
hard.
average reading level is a 6th grade reading level.
Yeah, that's crazy.
The
It's
current
hard to
party in
grasp
power
that.
is trying to completely dismantle the Department of Education, which would impact schooling throughout the entire country, and also trying to move to like a school of choice type situation, which would
No, I know. I
disenfranchise
actually,
people who actually don't have funds. The idea that, people are just going to actually go like engage in critical thinking on their own,
yeah,
that's not our
yeah.
country.
No, it's not. You're right. You're absolutely right. Yeah. No, the Department of Ed stuff is horrible. I actually, my family knows a former director of the Department of Ed, and it's just everything that the administration is doing is absolutely awful. And it's awful. And I agree with you. I definitely see your point about, like, you're calling out what these movements are, and then that calling it out in like such a strong way is what gets people to engage in the conversation in the first place. That makes sense. I totally agree.